Hey everyone, welcome to another in a series of training videos on porosity. Today I had a video that we put together that described in general what is porosity, why do we test it, why do we need it, who needs it, what information does it give us. So here what I'd like to do is focus on the Coresta test or Coresta method that's used for cigarette papers, tipping papers, the wrapping papers, and the like. That again has its its own method that has been devised, written up. ISO method 2965. The original one I think was dated in 1997. It's been revised in 2009 just to include a few more probably modern conveniences. But like I said in my introduction video, all of these methods that are measuring porosity have a few things in common. One is that they fix the area that we're actually trying to measure air through, by some mechanical means, some clamping mechanism that we can do to let's say channel this air through a fixed area in the sample we want to get some information from. The other is being able to create some type of a pressure differential from one side of the sheet to the other, okay? And then lastly is some type of measurement system that we can display or report our results in. So the Coresta tester was, I'm not sure, maybe it's developed in the 30s, maybe the 20s, 30s. It's a fairly old method. It's gone through some revisions. Certainly the technology that's used to measure this test is gotten quite a bit updated. Give you an example. This device is actually is manufactured by a German company. It's a Borgwalt. There's another company in France, the Sodium, S-O-D-I-M, another manufacturer of this particular device. But they all are looking to try and conform to this ISO standard. The ISO standard describes the area that needs to be tested, and that area is 1 square centimeter. It's roughly the size of a little less than 1/2 of an inch in diameter, a little over 1 centimeter, 1.1 and some change centimeters in diameter. So it's a pretty small area, but you can imagine if you were to unwrap this cigarette, you'd have an area that may be close to 20 centimeters in width. All right, so there's not a lot of room, not a lot of area to test. Thus the small clamping area. In addition to that, another, let's say, addition or another, let's say, extension to this test method is now there are several, let's say, regulations in this industry that require this paper to be manufactured in such a way that there are bands of paper, bands built into this paper, somewhere in the area of, I think about 2 millimeters in width, but they are in short increments throughout this cigarette. The reason behind that is this tobacco, of course, needs air to breathe and continue to burn. If I light up this cigarette and I take a drag on it, of course, I'm going to burn the tobacco. If I set the cigarette down, the cigarette may continue to burn because it has enough permeability in this paper the way it is in order to continue to burn, possibly causing fire and things of that nature. But if I can build in a band of very tight paper, when this cigarette burns down to that area, if I set it down, there's a good chance that that's going to extinguish. All right? So certainly one reason to have these bands, good safety. So the similarities again I could compare this test to other test methods that we might be talking about is, again, the clamp. Okay, we're fixing that test area. It's a pretty small test area, but we're fixing that test area. We're creating a pressure differential across that test area, and we're also using some type of a flow meter device to measure what kind of flow that results in. The Coresta unit is 1 square centimeter per minute per 1 square centimeter of area at 1 kilopascal pressure differential. So you can see that there's a good standard that's written up for the standard paper. Now we have to talk about these papers that have bands in them. We have to look at a different orifice diameter, possibly even a different clamping mechanism to actually measure those areas of very, let's say, dense paper. Same thing with the tipping paper. The tipping paper is, let's say, somewhere around less than an inch, maybe close to an inch wide. That certainly would work with the standard orifice. Certainly we could get some measurements off of that. The filter paper itself, again, has a little different specification than the cigarette, the paper that's actually wrapping the cigarette. So you'll be able to find these in limited supply here in North America. Right now, I think there's only one manufacturer in operation that's actually manufacturing the cigarette paper themselves. Most of the other manufacturers are in Europe and Asia, let's say Southeast Asia. That's the crux of the Coresta test. Fairly simple in design, but again, very important tool to measure the structure of that paper that's being manufactured for this purpose. Some fairly tight guidelines to follow in order to get that the correct amount of permeability that you need to sustain this cigarette while it's being burnt, not necessarily just by somebody dragging on it, but also in the case where somebody sets it down. So thank you for sticking around to watch this video. I appreciate your time, and hopefully you'll stick around, take a look at some of the other ones that we've created for Gurley, for Benson, for Sheffield. Also put one together on Fraser tests for non-woven type products. And certainly appreciate your time that you're taking to catch up and visit with us. Thank you. See you again.